Hi there, Nancy Mueller here, the one and only Life Sensei. And boy, do I have a really awesome person in store for you this week. I know I say that every week, and I know I say that I say that every week. But you really want to stick around. If you've ever wanted to write a book, feel like you have a book in you, wondering where to start, why you haven't started, we're going to talk about all that today. But in the meantime, I'd like to introduce my special guest today, Adriana. Adriana, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Before we go any farther, please tell everybody who you are, what you do, and why you're so fabulous.
Mm. So who am I? I'm Adriana Monique Alvarez. What do? I create platforms for people to tell their story in a way that allows them to grow their brand and their business. And what makes me so fabulous? Well, I'm a mama, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, and I get to do all of these all at the same time, and nothing makes me happier. So that's the life I like to rock. And I get to do it in New Orleans.
That's awesome. Yes, I've never been there. Yes, and I'm not sure, well, you know what? Actually, no, I haven't been there. I can't say that I've been there. But you just never know, right? What the universe is going to bring together. You never know that I might be passing by and you and I could meet in person.
That's right. You really never know. And I guarantee you this, I'll take you out for a good meal if you're ever passing through here.
Sounds good. I know I was reading some of the things you have on social media about the food in New Orleans. And what's the correct way to say it? New Orleans or New Orleans?
Um, a local would tell you New Orleans. So
New
that's
Orleans.
officially, yeah.
Okay. You know, it's interesting. I connected with someone on LinkedIn not too long ago, and she's a tour guide in New Orleans. And now I won't be able to say it at all because I'm thinking about how to say it. And she was talking about, I don't remember the pirate's name, but the pirate that created what we now think of as New Orleans and the harbor, and how he basically told people, you know, you're either going to help create this or you're, not going to be living any longer. And she was sharing this, and all of a sudden it just dawned on me. I was like, huh. That's why the Pirates of the Caribbean ride is in New Orleans Square at Disneyland. And it's so funny. Like, I've been going to Disneyland my whole life, and I never knew that until I talked to someone. It's just weird, not weird, but it's just so synchronistic how the universe brings information to you.
It's true. Connects the dots in ways that we knew it, but we didn't know it.
Exactly. And that's how I feel when you and I met. As I said, I meet people, and my little 5-year-old inside of me starts jumping up and down, shouting, "Yay, I made a new friend, let's go play." And I shared that with you, and I know that you understand that, you get that. And I'm really excited to talk about how you are helping people bring their story into their personal life as well as their professional life, and what it's doing for them.
Mm. Well, you know what I've found is every time I've talked to someone, they'll go, I've been thinking about writing a book, or my best friend says I should write a book. You know, I have all these life experiences, and every one of us on some level wants to be seen and heard, wants to be understood, wants to be able to sort of pull that curtain back and go, this is who I am. And this is what led to this person, right? It's the journey that created who we are. And so I get excited about finding avenues. Okay, how can we make it easy? How can we make it simple? Because that's the thing with books. It feels like a huge undertaking. And honestly, it is, because it's such an internal work. It's like, it's like excavating your insides. You're putting your soul on paper. So my whole goal is just like, let's make it simple. Let's take this one step at a time.
You know, I had shared with you when we were talking last week about the fact that I had helped a client write her book. And, writing my own books was one thing, but helping someone else do it, it really helped me see it from a different avenue. And that's when you shared with me that you have such a team. Can you talk to me about the team that you have and how everybody works in tandem to do what you do?
Yes, it really does take a team, because I go out there, I'm on social media, I'm on calls like this, and I'm having these conversations. Why does it matter? What story is ready to be shared? And then we get them in, and there's this whole process. Here's how you're going to write a bio. Because honestly, when people really begin to think about who they are and what they want to convey, what they want others to perceive, it takes a minute. So it's like we take them through this process. There's prompts and guidelines that have been created, and there's an editing team. There's a whole team that creates the cover, because that aesthetic, that's honestly what draws all of us in, whether we are contributing to a book, whether we're buying a book, right? That reaches out and grabs us. We've got formatters, all of the tech side, it needs to be a certain way for Kindle, it needs to be a certain way for paperback, it needs to be a certain way in one country and then another. We've got sales team. We've got all of my personal support. I was thinking about it. We just launched a book. And so I have some people around me that study me as we do a book launch, because leading a group, it has its own dynamic. And most of the time that's what we're doing. We're leading groups of people in these book collaborations. And so it's like, we don't often think about it, but the leader needs steadied so that the leader can lead in the most powerful way. And so we've got the whole spectrum covered so that everyone has the best experience they possibly can.
That's fantastic. I mean, because I was really in awe how you've thought about it from all angles. And, I think that's so important, especially when someone really wants to write their book and they think, okay, I think I've got this. I even have all the notes. I even have everything that I need. And then they maybe even go so far as to write the book, but then they're afraid to hit that button and say, okay, let's publish it, because now people are going to be reading their innermost stuff. How do you help with that?
This fear, okay, this is what we're dealing with. Fear
Right.
is the biggest component that we navigate, and we don't hit it once, right? We're managing, we're addressing, we're looking at, we're doing all this over and over. It's interesting because you're absolutely right. So it happens in a few different ways. Number one, we built this community. So there's this private Facebook group that we house all of the authors in, so that number one, they know they're not alone in it. You're experiencing it. She's experienced it. I've experienced it. It's part of the journey. It really is, because when we own our authentic voice and we share what is our truth, it's going to be scary, because we're going to fear criticism, judgment, rejection, all the above. And so we create a community, and we have built in our steps and prompts. Listen, it's important that you connect with yourself. It's important that you get quiet. It's important, whatever it is that you believe in, that you connect to that higher source, because this is not a cakewalk. We talked about that a bit the other day too. Most people have this romantic notion of what it means to write a book, but it's not glamorous at all. It's really not.
I know you and I talked about that whole, my mindset was years and years of reading books and just thinking like, oh, I'm going to sit by the window and watch the birds tweet and just write and put something on paper. But, and I was going to say, depending on what you're writing about, but I think it doesn't depend on what you're writing about. I think anything you're writing about, it's pulling things out of you, whether it's your imagination, whether it's feelings, emotions, memories, fears, beliefs. It's pulling a lot out of you to get it out of your head and onto the paper.
Absolutely, 100%. Every time I write, whether it's when I've written a book or sometimes when I write a post for social media or for an email, I have this standard that I've set for myself. If I don't feel something,
Yeah.
if it doesn't make me feel something when I read through what I just put together, then I'm not going to hit submit, because there's no chance of someone else reading it and feeling something. But walking that edge, right? It's not for the faint of heart. So it really does take strengthening that connection to self. And what's the purpose? What's the big mission here? Because for most of us, in that loop of ups and downs and twists and turns and fear showing up and that monster, facing the monster, if we're not really clear about what the intention is, I did a training on this today, is number one, set the intention of what the purpose of your book, because then you can always come back to that when your knees are knocking and your heart is racing and you're going, But what if,
Yeah.
then you can come back to that rock solid intention that you set in the beginning, because it matters for a reason. And that's also why all these emotions pop up.
I agree. And just like you said, you don't hit that post, the button to publish that post without reading through it. It's all about the energy, because if you write something and you're in that energy of, or I guess this is good enough or something, that's the energy that you're intentionally putting out into the universe. And that's the energy that you're going to get back. So understanding, number one, what feelings and emotions are creating your energy, and what is the story that you want to tell, and what energy is it creating within you. And I don't know, I think that there obviously are different genres of books, but depending on why you're putting the information out there, I think the energies are going to be different. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. Lining up your energy, your emotions, your intention, bringing all this into a straight line is really important for it to be the most effective and the best experience for everyone. I've noticed that when we don't understand or we don't know, we're not aware of the story that's actually running the show,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a story that's running our actions. We take actions or don't take actions based on an internal dialogue that's just in a loop, right? And then I like to go a step further. What emotion is running the story that's running my life,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's behind this decision. And so you're absolutely right. It's like, if I can tap into the emotion, if I can tap into the energy, that's the best starting point. And you're right. If I have the intention to grow my business through a book, or I have the intention to write a memoir, or I have an intention to write a book that I want to leave to my great great grandchildren, there's a difference there. And it's really about being, it's your initial question you asked me. You have to know who you are. You
Right.
have to know who you are and what does this project mean to you. And then it can be a whole lot easier from there.
But don't you think sometimes you can find yourself through writing your book? Like maybe you
Oh.
don't really know who you are. I found that to be the case with many people.
Yes, we we know who we are right now, and then who we become in the process is a totally different person, right? It's that transformation.
Yeah.
So I was remembering when I started my first book, who I was is I was a mother with young children who had just left the US, sold everything we owned, left the US with my husband and two babies. I was facing the pushback from our local clients who were like, how can you travel the world and run a business? Because all of our clients were brick and mortar businesses. So it was like online business was just blowing their mind.
Right.
I had the pushback from family and friends who are going, you're taking your babies to another country. You're a horrible mother. And so who I was in that moment, I was a mother who was really looking to share my story and connect with others who would say, you're not crazy. You're not crazy. I know who you are, and I want to do the same thing. But by the end, I was a woman who could fully stand in my own truth. And I didn't need the approval. I didn't need to explain. I didn't need people to understand. I just was ready to enjoy it to the max. And so, yeah, that's an ever evolving definition, isn't who I am. So it's day by day and project by project.
I have to say that when I published my first book, um, it it wasn't for, I discovered in hindsight that it wasn't for any of the reasons I thought I was writing the book for. And I feel that many people must experience that. Um, Also, I felt that once I published my first book, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. That's awesome. And then you think about it, and then you think, that's it. I've depleted. There couldn't be any more in me. That has to be it. That has to be my, I don't know, my biggest accomplishment. That's the only thing. And it's not true.
No, no. I think of books a lot like babies. So, whenever we decide that we want to have a child, or we end up pregnant and having a baby, like we have all these ideas of what it's going to be like and what it means to come into parenthood. And of course, our children, we think we're guiding them. They're actually teaching us, right? It's similar with a book. A book has a life all its own. And I remember feeling that when I finished writing my book, I just felt like, oh, I need to go sleep for a month. I need food. I need water. And I really did. I thought like, oh, I've done it. I'm complete. I checked it off. I accomplished it. Yes. And I was telling a client today who just finished hers on Friday, and I said, that's the interesting thing though. I could have never imagined what it would lead to and how many doors would open and what it would snowball into. And if we can just hang on to that, wow, I accomplished this.
Yeah.
But then add on to it. So what else could be possible?
You're absolutely right. And I love the analogy of with children, because when I had my oldest daughter, um, I mean, it just opened up a whole me inside of me. And when I got pregnant with my second child, I have two daughters, I had a fear like, oh my gosh, what if I don't love her like I do my first child? What if I don't have enough? What if, because you don't know what you don't know. And this child, I mean, this child is in front of you. This child has experiences every day and you experience things with that child. And so you don't know what the other child is going to be like. And so you doubt yourself and you think, "Oh, what if? And I love that analogy that you have with books, because it's the same thing. You're right. And I hadn't thought about that until you just mentioned that. But when I look at that with the books that I published, it is absolute truth. And you sit down and you write the second one and you say, oh my gosh, is this going to be as good or better or well received or read or whatever it is that we are fearful of it not being in our minds? And then when you go on and you publish the third book, and then you think, oh gosh, do I have a fourth one in me? And I think about these authors who have hundreds of books out there, and it's amazing. It's like more of a part of you just keeps opening up.
Absolutely. There's these compartments that just keep popping open. I remember feeling that as I was writing my book, though, because I made the decision, I think that a writing routine is really important to access the most. And so my writing routine was every afternoon when my boys napped, I would go down to the little coffee shop. And so I trained my body, at 3:00 every single day, this is what we're doing. And it was interesting to see just, oh my gosh, well, there's another story, there's another idea, there's another topic. And I agree, it's like building that muscle.
Yes.
Right? The more we share, most people who are in the habit of writing on social media, writing for publications, writing for books, really what they're doing is they're strengthening that muscle that allows them to tap into who they are, what they have to share. And I firmly believe that people who are prolific in this way, they're really tuned into a higher knowing as well. They're that channel for the messages that are ready to be received.
I agree 100%. 100%, I agree with you. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking about my own experiences and how when I would write by the beach, I would feel one thing. And then when I would write in another setting, I would feel something else. And I don't have small children at home, so I could, write at home or wherever. But you are absolutely right. The setting that you put yourself in, the mindset that you put yourself in, and of course, that's the energy that you're putting yourself in, is going to impact the words and the message that you're sharing as well.
Definitely. And if I've learned anything, every word really does matter. I tell this to my clients all the time. Before you hit post on social media, make sure every word that's there lines up exactly with what you want, because our words, right? I believe in this, I create as I speak.
Yes.
It's really that abracadabra, that's the magic, right? And so if I'm saying a certain post, if I'm saying this is the type of client I want to work with, or this is the type of program I have, or this is the type of experience I want, I better be as specific and clear as I possibly can, because it's going out, and guess what? It's going to come back.
Absolutely. We are creating our own experience, minute by minute, word by word, thought by thought. And just like you said, the thoughts you think, the words you use come back to you in ways that we often can't foresee. One of my pet peeves is I'm always suggesting to people that they watch their language. When I'm working with clients, I say, okay, now did you really mean to say that? Because what I heard is X. Um, People interchange the word eager and anxious. So like they say, I'm really
Mhm.
anxious to go to the movies, to which I would say, well, if you have anxiety about going to the movies, then shouldn't you not go? And they stop and go, and then they realize, oh yeah, no, I don't have anxiety. So it's so important in this day and age of LOL and BTW and all of these other short words that we have, that we really stop and express what's in our mind and know the thoughts that we're thinking, the feelings and emotions behind the thoughts, and the beliefs around those feelings and emotions, and how that is just churning over and over and over for you. Because, if you keep putting it out there, like, I can't do this, I can't do that, no one's going to pay attention to this, then that's what you're putting out. It's like a prayer to the universe, like, please make sure this never comes into my life. And the universe is going to say, okay, you got it.
It's true. We oftentimes underestimate how powerful we are. And I've noticed this even with my clients, like the book will be released, we're celebrating it, and there's this hesitation for them to celebrate it. They'll write posts that say something like, I don't want to brag. I don't want, I'm sure you're tired of hearing my post about this book, but, and it really does allow us to see through our words what's going on the inside. Like you said, there's a belief in there that's fueling these lines. And so it's true. My husband and I, we do this. It's like, okay, is that what you want to say about it?
Mhm.
I didn't think so. Yeah, because there's such a difference. I can be, it's like there's such a fine line. I can be excited. I can be anxious. I can be curious. There's a lot of ways to express it, and making sure that we're really lined up is key, because others are partaking and they're watching and they're reading, and everything is coming together for our experience. So I
Yeah, you want to
absolutely
ask
agree.
yourself, like, what would it take for you to say, are you freaking kidding me? I published my first book, and I don't know if you're interested or not, but I'm interested. I'm so freaking proud of myself. And I just hope that you read this book. And then leave me a review. Let me know what you thought, because you know what? I'm going to keep going and going and going. And when we do that, people sit back and go, whoa. But that is the energy that we want to live our life with, right? That's the prayer that we want to send out to the universe. Like, I am fabulous. I am awesome. I am like, I can't believe that I did this. What's next? What's in store for me? I mean, we have a
Yes.
choice of how we want
It's
to
so
express.
true. I always ask my clients, well, what would you do if your child just wrote a book, just released a
Yeah.
book?
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you be responding? How do you behave when it's your child's birthday? Right? It's easy for us to go, oh no, I mean, would you ever tell your daughter, you know what? Tone that celebration down. We don't want people to think you have a big head, right? We would
Yeah.
not tell her that,
Right.
but we tell ourselves that. And
Right.
it's true. My husband will tell you, I have built everything on enthusiasm and excitement. I have this motto that when people see me, when they read my posts, when they watch my videos, they go, well, she's clearly not stopping till she gets what she wants. So I can help her along, or I can get out of the way.
Right.
Those are my
Or
options,
I could
right?
sit back and wish that I had helped, or wish that I had been part of that. Even if it's just being part of your energy. I mean, people um, just sometimes they don't realize just being in someone's energy, how it can elevate you. When you might be feeling kind of like, if you're vibrating between a 1 and a 10, 10 being the lowest, and you're vibrating on a 2, and then you walk into someone's energy space and they're vibrating on a 10 plus, and you're like, wow, I feel pretty darn good. You might not know why you're feeling pretty darn good, but like, I want more of this. And then the farther you get away from them, you're like, like, pay attention to what that is, go back. And then how can you create that for yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I believe that we have to be incredibly diligent and aware of our surroundings and the people, the company around us. And I know for myself, like a lot of my clients know that I have this very specific ritual in the morning. I have this time for stillness and silence. Not because I have to get myself into the best place. Yesterday's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, we're not dealing with. It's not here, right? I have this day. What am I going to do with this day? What emotions am I going to choose? What's my intention? What am I going to bring to the room? What am I going to bring to the meeting? What am I going to bring to the project? That's really all that matters. And if there's meetings, if there's clients, if there's appointments, if there's lunches, if there's this contact and it drops the energy, interesting.
Yeah.
What is that costing me?
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth making some adjustments? Right?
Yeah.
Worth looking at, because every time we have to sort of pick ourselves back up from a dip, that's energy taken just to do that versus moving forward and accomplishing the next thing, feeling good without having the dips in between. But I think that that's also something we have to get comfortable with. Just, I can be as happy as I choose to be. I can feel good all the time. Right?
It's being happy and not judging yourself that you deserve to be, whether or not you deserve to be happy.
That's it.
You know, for a while there, I was going around, one of my mantras was like, I love my life. I love my life. I was saying that, I love my life. And I still say that a lot, but it was just like this period where I was like, oh my God, I love my life. I love my life. And one day someone said to me, you have to stop saying that. And I said, why? Well, because people think that you're so full of yourself, or that, you're just, it's kind of off-putting. And I thought about it for a minute. And of course, I'm like, so am I putting something out there that makes people uncomfortable? And then I thought, well, if I am, then that's about them. That's about something that they're saying. How come I can't say I love my life? And, anything that we can do to show people contrast, like, oh, okay, would you rather be someone who's out there saying you love your life? Or do you think you need to, be in the energy that you're in? It's all about choices. That's my biggest thing. Life is all about choices. And we can choose to be happy. We can choose not to be happy. But whatever choice we make is going to create our reality.
It's true. And if we're in a place where we're not liking where we're at, we also can choose to ask for support. We can choose to tap into resources that allow us to come into a place that feels better. And whether that's one step to the left that feels better or swinging all the way over, it really doesn't matter. It's just about, okay, I'm aware of what's going on. And you know what I found? It used to really annoy me, but now I have come to appreciate it, because I've noticed whenever mama's not in the best place,
Yeah.
the whole house goes.
Yep.
Right. And I used to go, well, come on. Sometimes mama needs a break too, like, oh God, everything's going to come down. But then I just realized, like, this is just a microcosm. This is showing me on a tiny, tiny scale, when there's 4 people living in one home, how one affects the others.
That's the truth.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if we really got that on this big global scale, then what choices would we make? Okay, I can be a little more patient in traffic. I can open the door for that person. I can wait patiently while the mom goes through with her stroller. I can be more understanding. All of these decisions, right? I can operate from love more than I operate from fear. But it's very interesting and powerful to watch it in my own house. Then I go, oh, and then multiplied out to the entire population.
A lot of people say it's about standing back and being curious, like, why is this happening? Or why did I attract this? But even bigger than that, the big question, I think, is, what am I being shown?
Mm-hmm.
Because everything is an opportunity to stay where we are, elevate, or go down, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's true. What's my opportunity in this? What is it showing me? What I tell my clients a lot is this, is whatever your feelings. So for example, if you have this dialogue going, I don't know if anyone would pay that price for this package. I tell them, look at it, write it out, go for a walk, cry it out, address it in some way, because if you don't, you're going to get on a call with someone and they're going to read your mind and they're going to tell you, that's too expensive of a package. Have you thought about your prices are unreasonable?
Yep.
It happens like clockwork. Every time I've had an internal, if I don't clean it up quickly,
Yep.
someone on the outside is going to reflect it right back to me. And it does. Here's the thing. We don't think it feels good to go, well, I don't know who's going to pay for my package. But then when somebody else tells, it really doesn't feel good.
Right. Right.
So it's like, oh, I do not want to wait until it's reflected back. I can look at, why is this coming up? But like you said, we life is full of mirrors, right? We need these mirrors. This is how we grow. My husband and my kids, they're giant mirrors for me. They go, oh, I go, okay, what am I going to do with this? This is what it's showing me. This is what I'm feeling. This is where I feel this, right?
Exactly.
Am I going to look at it? And for me, that's the biggest thing. It might not be comfortable. It might be messy. It might be warts. It might be all of this, but will I look at it? Am I willing to look at it and take ownership of whatever I need to take ownership? And so then I can move forward as well from a different place.
I agree. When I wrote my third book, the Friday before I published the book, I was feeling all sorts of just out of sorts. Just, my energy was all over the place. And so I took the weekend and went to my daughter's house and just played grandma and mom and, just totally took my mind out of that. And then the following Tuesday, I sat down at my computer and literally Spirit downloaded the book to me. By the time I was finished writing at the end of the day, I had finished the book. And when I sat down and I read what I had, I was like, whoa. And I sent it to a friend, and she called me the next day and she said, where did that come from? And I said, I know, huh? I did this yesterday. She's like, what? You did this in one day? I said, honestly, it just like came to me. And she's like, well, you're going to publish it, right? And I said, I don't know. And she's like, what do you mean you don't know? And I said, I don't feel like it's my work. I just feel like I typed, but the thoughts weren't mine. And she said, you know what, Nancy, it's absolutely your work. Why do you think Spirit chose you to write this book? And because it was a different way than the other two books came about. And I think that we sometimes pigeonhole ourselves, like it has to be done this way, or it has to be done in this format. But when we can give ourselves permission to just step back and say, I don't know, I just know that this information is coming through me in whatever way, a thought, an experience, whatever it is, and you give yourself permission to say, well, if I don't share this, either someone else is going to share it, or maybe they'll share it and it wouldn't have been my take on it. And maybe somebody needs to hear my take on it versus someone else's take on it, because I don't think anyone's information is better than or worse than someone else's. I think we all hear things from the people, places, and conditions we need to hear it from.
Yeah.
But I feel that it's really important for anyone watching this conversation, listening to this conversation, that if you've got that burning question inside of you, like, oh, I'd love to write a book, but I don't know if I'm smart enough, intelligent enough, knowledgeable enough, have enough social status enough, whatever it is, the enoughs that are going through your head, know that the answer is yes, because you can't think of something if it's not meant to be your work, whatever that is, in your professional life, your personal life, if you read a book, whatever it is. If you think it's meant to be yours and you can own it.
It's so true. And when you were speaking, like, it moved me, because that is so much of how I write, and I think how most people do. But sometimes it's intimidating or scary, or puts us at it makes it uneasy to say, this just came through me. This just came to me. when I first started my business, when I would have an appointment, we were local and we would have, a coffee or a lunch or whatever, I would leave the meeting and I would just receive what the plan was for that client. But for the first 7 years, I didn't tell anyone how I received it because I was terrified they would just think I was crazy, you know? But it was always, they always loved it. It always worked out well. And 3 years ago when I came online, I started sharing, well, this idea, kind of like you said, it's not really my idea,
Mm-mm.
but it's my job to pass it on to you.
And
And
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
no, what just came to me when you said that is I believe that we're all here to teach each other.
Yes.
So something that is coming up for someone and they may not be ready, able, or understanding of that knowledge, whoever they approach, that's the person that's meant to say, yeah, I get it. Here it is, and open it up for you. I mean, that's what working with someone is all about, having someone guide you in on the path that you feel ready to take. That's what it's all about. And so that's what you're doing. You're showing someone this innate gift inside of you to help them open up and be the most creative that they can be in sharing their story.
It's true. It's about saying, listen, let's put you in a place where you can be the most receptive to guidance, the most receptive to love, the most receptive to opportunity. And as you are in this place of being highly open and receptive to life and what's possible, then we open up
Right.
and let's see what can flow through. That's really what's most important. We have our ideas, we have our intentions, we have our agendas, but at the end of the day, if we can open to this whole process, it can lead us to places we never imagined possible.
I agree. Something that you and I talked about last week as well. I'd like you to touch on this a little bit, if you will. I think there's a misnomer out there where people say, oh, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to be rich.
Mm.
Can you touch on that subject?
Yes, I actually received this question right before we got on to speak. And so the question is, okay, so am I going to become an author and I'm going to make a lot of money from my books? Is that right? And I go, well, there might be a handful of people in the world who do that. Maybe Paulo Coelho, maybe there's some, but that's not really what writing the book is about for most people. So for most entrepreneurs who write a book, it's a marketing tool that we leverage, that we use to create this credibility, authority. But to think I'm going to write a book and I'm going to receive these checks from Amazon or whoever it is, right, every single month, and that's what's creating the life of my dreams, it really isn't the way it works. For most people, I remember reading this one article, and this was years ago, and a man said, I consistently market my book and it pays me about $400 a month. He said, but what I do is I take that as a marketing tool and I get, 10, 20 new clients a month. And that's actually what creates my lifestyle. And so, yes, it can be, if you're going into it and you're thinking, I'm going to get rich off of book sales, it's not going to happen. I'll just be the first to tell you, I'll go ahead and burst that bubble. It's not going to happen. It's really not. And the thing is do I think the book should absolutely be part of your marketing plan? Yes. But you could spend Facebook ad budget, Google ad budget, all of your energy, all of your time, everything on promoting a book, or you can do it on promoting your services and your business. And you'd be far better off if you go that route. Use it as a tool versus the actual place where the money is made.
Well, and I think that lends to kind of a fear-based thinking as far as, okay, this is tangible. This book is tangible. So I can charge for this book and get money, which is just energy, for this tangible thing. But the intangible, which is our creativity and what we are bringing to the world, whether we're a healer, a teacher, whatever it is that we wrote our book around, that's the what if factor. And the what if factor is what puts a lot of people in this space of fear. And so knowing what your fear is and then taking it down to the feelings and emotions around the fear, the belief around the fear, and understanding like, what is it that you're bringing up fear about that's keeping you from marketing yourself on this side, where you feel you have to keep yourself at a lower vibrational energy and just accept the tangibles in your life rather than the infinite intangibles.
It's true. If you want to go on a personal development journey of a lifetime, sell your own services. Sell access to your knowledge, to your experience, to your education, to what you have collectively put together in your life. Sell that, because it will bring up every possible thing under the sun. You know, when we first started our business 10 years ago, I was the salesperson and my husband built websites and we did SEO and social media marketing. And I could sell websites like nobody's business. It wasn't my website. My husband and the team they were the ones executing it and building it. It was nothing. I could walk into a networking event and just website after website come home with checks. That was back in the day when people wrote checks. And then when I went online 3 years ago and I said, I'm going to shift into consulting. And now people are just paying to have access to me, right? This is what was going on in my brain. People are paying to have access to me, to my knowledge, to my teaching, my training. And I had to make that shift. You know, I had to keep pivoting around until that felt as easy as selling a website. Because as long as we're selling, like you said, these tangible things, I think some people, if they could just sell a pen and paper clips, they'd be fine.
Right.
But, oh, I'm selling you time with me, selling you a course I created. Oh my gosh. Yeah, like you said in the beginning, it's all those worthiness issues that come flying up and go, oh my gosh, but am I enough? Am I enough? And as you said, every time that question comes up, am I enough? Imagine what you would tell your child if they asked you that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we would sit down and tell our children, of course, whatever, let's go for it. Let's do this. Let's try it. Let's build it. Let's, whatever let's go for it. And yet we keep ourselves down because something that came to me as I was saying, we keep ourselves down. It's like, I think that when people who are out there offering access to themselves will make a commitment to themselves to at least 3 or 4 times a week to read their bio. I mean, it's an amazing, energetic shot in the arm. It really is, because you forget all of the amazing things that you've done, all of the accomplishments that you've had, everything that you had to, trudge through to get where you are. And when you read your bio, you say, oh yeah. And it also helps you reflect and remember what it felt like to own those accomplishments, to go through those accomplishments. And you're like, yeah, I remember when I did that. Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember when that happened. And we tend to write our bio. Okay, it's something that's out there if somebody wants to know who we are, and then we forget about it. But it's the same way with a book. When you write your book, what is your intention? What do you want to share with the world about your book? And I've come across too many women who have, and I'm saying women because mostly that's my client base, but I'm talking to you women. When you write this book and you finally get it out of you and you publish it, and then you do nothing with it. Why is that?
I spoke on this very thing this morning. I did a training on it because I have 27 women who just released a book on Friday. And I said the worst thing that you could do after it is released is do nothing.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll tell you why it's the worst thing. Because it really is unnatural. You embarked on this journey. You completely transformed yourself through this journey. And now you're trying to convince yourself that nothing is different.
Yep.
When everything is different.
Yep.
And that's why it's unnatural. That's why it's the worst thing to do. So no matter what it is, whatever you put into the world, because we're constantly creating, that's really what we're offering, right? Is our creations, our creativity, our thoughts, whatever we put into the world, it's so important to honor that as sacred. My work is, I'm not hawking books, right? My work, this work that I do, this is my life's work. That's why I'm here. That's why I was born. And when you can look at your own work and it's the same exact way, this is not something that I put a price tag on and hope somebody buys. This is why I'm here.
Right.
And if there weren't people who've been asking for this, then why would I have come here? And why would this be on my heart? Why would I not be able to function? Why would I not be able to do any other profession, get any other job, take any other direction if it wasn't all meant to be?
Because we don't allow it to be that easy. You know, it's so difficult, I think, for human beings to believe that it is exactly that simple. You find out what you're here to do, why you were put on this earth, and you start to do it, and then that's it. It's that easy. The more you do it, everything else builds upon that. And we make it so hard for ourselves. We say, well, that can't be it. That can't be
Yeah,
all, because
couldn't be
that's
that
too,
easy.
yeah, because that's too easy. I got to make it harder. And something that came up for me when you were talking about um, writing the book, this is what came up for me. The image that came up to me is giving birth. Like, you give birth to your book, right? You give birth to your child, and then what comes next? You nourish the child, you know, you feed the child, you do all of these things to increase and enhance the life and the quality of life of your child. When you write a book and you publish it, it's the same thing. It's like a birth. You gave birth to that creation. So just like you wouldn't put your child in the closet and never think about it again, why would you put your book in the closet and never think about it again? What is meant to be with this creation that you were given the tools, skills, knowledge, and ability to create, and what are you doing with it?
Mm, I love that. I love that. And it's how I feel about business in general. Business isn't this cold entity philosophy thing out there, right? I have a relationship and a connection to my business. Every one of us do. And either that's being nurtured and it's being cultivated and it's this dance that we do together and everything we create is the same, or it's, well, I'm this person over here, but when I'm in my business, it's this way. And when I've got my services or my book or my whatever, it's the other way. All of it is sacred. All of it is holy. All of it matters. And all of it deserves to be loved and cultivated. Just like you said, it's so true. It's the exact same thing. We birth a child and then we give that child everything necessary to thrive.
Absolutely.
What would it look like if you gave your business, your book, your ideas, everything necessary to thrive? What would that look like?
Yeah, feed it, nourish it, laugh with it, sit with
Yeah.
it, talk to it. I don't know, challenge it. You know, that's the creative part. That's the giving and receiving of what you've done, what you've created.
Mm.
And you don't have a child and then just, like I said, put it in a closet and never interact with it. You don't do that. And just like you interact with your child, this person, this being that you love so much and you're so excited is here, that's what you want to do with everything that you create, whether it's a book or a program or whatever it is. If you create it, just go with the energy that was intended throughout the creation and sit back and just like feel that coming back at you 100 times over, 1,000 times over. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. And with all of it, whether it's our families or our work, how can I truly love all of it? By loving myself first, right?
Exactly.
Every relationship is really coming and stemming from what's my relationship with myself. And the more I love myself, the more I honor myself, the more I can honor my business and love my business, the more I can love everything I create, the more I can connect with my clients, the more I can love my children. I remember having a conversation with a woman once, and she was really struggling because the relationship with her mother was coming up as she was growing her business. And she just kept coming back around. Yeah, but she didn't do this and she didn't do that. And she didn't love me in this way. And when we get to the place and we realize, well, the honest to God truth is your mother probably wasn't able to do that because she didn't love herself.
Exactly.
Then it's only cruel to expect that next thing, right?
Right.
So if you're feeling like you're not in love with your business, you're not in love with what you've created, you're not in love with being a mother, you're not in love with whatever it is, then give yourself that permission, that space to go, what am I going to do for myself?
Yeah.
What am I going to do for myself that makes me feel better? And then I will actually have a desire. I'll have a place to serve. I'll have a place to flow from for all the rest of it.
Absolutely. That reminds me, I was listening to Jack Canfield speak years and years and years ago, and I don't remember who he referenced when he said this, but he said that this person says, the love I give to you is secondhand because I feel it first.
It's
And
the truth.
I never forgot that. And it's like, you can't give away something that you don't possess. It's impossible.
You can't. And this is why it's so important for women to look at all this stuff, because if I can't possess it, I can't pass it on. And if it took me 47 years or 52 years or whatever, 34 years to figure this out because you were undoing or reworking what had been given to you, right? If we're really looking for what we're going to give our children, well, I want to give my children a good, self-image, body image. I want to give them confidence. I want them to know they can go for their dreams. Okay, mama, are you modeling it?
Right. Truth.
Ouch, right? And if I'm not modeling it, then how am I passing this on?
Right.
How am I making this different? How am I not just passing on what was passed to me?
You can't teach children by telling them, do as I say, not as I do, because children don't learn by what you say. They learn by what they feel, what they intuit, and how they see it working within your life. And if you don't believe that, anyone who has challenges with their parents, any adult who's walking around still blaming where they are based on childhood experiences, right there, it's your big aha moment.
It is the truth. And I mean, children feel on and have an awareness on such a deeper level. They get it. They get it. And when we are trying to fool ourselves, even last night, so I have this little tradition. I lay in bed with my boys for a few minutes every evening, and it's my favorite time of day because they're telling me all their stories. And last night, so I have one little boy who's a real talker and one little boy that's a real thinker. And we were sharing stories, and this one's going on, and then this one wanted to say 2 words. And he said, Mama, I don't talk a lot. And he didn't talk for a while. Right. And at first I was very concerned, just like every mother who's new to this first child, like if they're not doing everything when they're quote unquote supposed to, oh God, what have I done? Right. And this is what my 6-year-old, he's going to be 6 in January. This is what he tells me last night. And I just burst into tears. He said, Mama, when I was little and I didn't talk? I said, yeah. He goes, I was talking in my brain. I said, you were, baby? He said, yeah. And do you know what my brain was saying? I said, what? He goes, I love you, Mama. And I just thought, oh my gosh, these kids are so wise and so aware. And there was also something so healing in that for me, because I remember when he was 2 and all the other little kids at the playground are talking away and telling their moms they love them and all these things. And I have the child that's just completely silent. And I just felt like I had dropped the ball and done something wrong, or maybe he doesn't feel as connected to me. And then he tells me, 4 years later,
Yes.
I was thinking I love you. Our children are absolutely amazing, and yet they're not going to let us off the hook. They're
Right.
here to show us we can dig deeper, we can make other choices, and they're going to be constantly in front of us showing us it's worth it. It's worth it.
And one of the beautiful things that you just shared is that you give your boys space to do that. You know, you give them that time. You don't rush through. You have this routine at the end of the day, and you make it happen. When my daughters would get off school, I used to love sometimes taking them out for lunch, like a late lunch. Obviously, they already eaten lunch, or an early dinner, whatever you want to call it. And that was before cell phones and all that, of course. But because I found that taking them out of their usual environment would put them in a place where they would talk
Mm-hmm.
and they would share more. And it's like, once I got that, I did it over and over and over. And it was amazing the conversations that we would have.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Because they open it's the same way, because in the middle of the day it's quiet right now because they're not home. But it's wrestling, it's coloring, it's school, it's books, it's music, it's all the rest of it. But at night, and the lights are out, and we know we're going to bed, all of a sudden it's that new environment. So yeah.
And
This has been
another
amazing.
Another beautiful thing that is coming to me as you're saying that is, if you're a mother listening to this conversation and you're asking yourself, what do I have in me that I could possibly write about? Maybe it's about your mothering skills, talents, abilities, gifts. What are you experiencing with your children that other mothers are searching for?
Mm.
All have something innate in us that we can share with the world. And how are you sharing it? Are like you keeping it all to yourself, and you're just like, no, I can't share this with anybody because you're too afraid, or you don't think anybody wants to listen. And possibly it's meant to be put out in a book, and maybe it's not a book by yourself. Maybe you're going to co-author with 7 other mothers or something. But start someplace. And Adriana, tell people how to get a hold of you, how to look you up, how to find out what you're doing, please.
Thank you. And what you said is so important. Start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Start somewhere. So you can find me on LinkedIn and on Facebook under Adriana Monique Alvarez, same name as my website. And this is about going, okay, one step. Can I write a 3,000 word chapter and begin this process and then see where it goes? I would love to. This is my favorite thing, is having women say, I'm going to take the first step, because then it all opens up. So absolutely, I'd love to connect. Come find me. Let's see what's inside you. Let's see what story is ready to be shared.
Absolutely. And I was talking to a woman last week, and she said something that I had never thought about before. She said, a lot of people think that every journey begins with the first step, but she said, that's not true. Every journey begins with a choice to take the first step. Because if you don't make that choice, then you're not even going to take the step. So think about your choices. Life is all about choices. That's what this channel is all about. Life is all about choices. And if you like what you heard here today, subscribe to our channel, share it with others, because you just never know, something that touches you may be just the thing that another person is looking for, some information that someone's been kind of sitting on and thinking, gosh, I wish I knew where to go for this. And as I said earlier, we learn things from the people who are, meant to bring it into our awareness. And you could have 10 people tell you the same thing in their version, and it wouldn't be until the 10th person that you finally go, oh my gosh, I get that. So as women are rising up and just finding their abilities, their skills, their talents, what they're made of, think about what it would be like if every woman shared something that she really, blossomed over with someone else. And that's what it's all about, just creating this ripple effect. And we just keep, rippling out there. And this is what's going to take us to heights that we'd never dreamed possible and expand our minds and raise our vibrational energy to points that we just can't even imagine is possible. So, Adriana, thank you so much for sharing your gifts, your talents, your wisdom, your message. I so appreciate you being in my life.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity. This conversation has me feeling so good. I just feel like, yes,
I know.
It feels so good to be alive.
It does. You're just like, all right, what's next? Yes. Okay, I can do that. And that's what we want. So for all of you listening, remember, life is all about choices. Stay tuned. Every week we have a new conversation, a new video, and let us know. Comment. Leave some comments for us. Let Adriana know what you thought of her work and maybe, what came up for you during this conversation, because when you share your comments, then it gives others who were maybe like, I don't know, does anyone really want to know what I'm thinking? Yes, we want to know what you're thinking because we care. So leave your comments at the bottom, share, subscribe, and let us know what we can do for you. In the meantime, this is Nancy Mueller saying ciao for now.